Welcome back to Phillips Hot Rod Garage. I've been working hard this week. I got the body back on the frame. Just hang around a while and I'll show you what I did. All right guys, we're back on the 1928 Model A Special Coupe. We're trying to get this body squared up. We got the quarters on in the last video. We got the cowl side finished on the driver's side in the last video. That wrapped up the whole cowl assembly. We got all that done. So this week, I got to try to get the doors on. Got to try to get the quarter panel squared up with the body. We're going to get everything squared up, and we're going to try in this video to get the body back on the chassis so we can start fabricating on the chassis. That's the plan. We're going to dive right in and just see how far we can get. All right, so where I'm going to start is right here. I'm going to put some bolts in these holes first on both sides of the car. I think that's a good place to start. All right. That looks good. All right, so that's 2 bolts on each side through the factory rivet holes. So that holds the quarters lined up exactly where they were from the factory. So the top part's done here. Now I got to get down to the bottom, right down here, and get the bottom portion of the quarter lined up correctly with the B-pillar. All right, so as you can see, I got a little bit of a gap between the B-pillar and the quarter. Got the same thing on both sides. See, on that side there's a gap also. All right, so what that tells me is this has got to go back, which means that back there has got to go up. So I'm gonna wedge something under the back to pick that up so this will come back. All right, we're getting close, but I think we need to go a little bit more. All right, so the quarter panel's tied up against the B-pillar at the bottom and at the top on both sides. All right, so I need to do a little measuring here before I start tacking things in place. See what we got going on here. Basically 47 and 15/16. Same on this side, 47 and 15/16. So we should be good with that. It's 2 inches. Let's see what this side is. It's 1 inch and 7/8. A little bit different. No big deal. You can pull this up just a little bit. Now we're at 1 7/8 on this side and that side, so that's no big deal. Just move that up just a little, tack it in place. So I put all this square tubing in this car, made this structure to hold all this squared up before I started making YouTube videos. So you guys didn't get to see what went on there. But what I did was I made this tubing perfectly square in here. The dimensions from the side of the B-pillar here over to this tubing on each side is exactly the same. I took cross measurements from the top of the B-pillar down to the subrail on both sides and squared it up. Everything is completely perfectly in place from one side to the other. Down at the subrails from the front to back, everything is perfect. These pieces of tubing from here, from the upper header above the windshield down to here are exactly in the same place on both sides. I've got this car about as close to perfectly square as you can get it. Most likely it's probably better than what it came from the factory as far as being square. So I may have to actually, in the end, move some of this around and relieve some of that squareness to actually get the car to fit together like it should. But for now, in this stage of the game, I got this thing as square as I can possibly get it. So what I'm doing is I'm measuring this tubing and getting it exactly the same on both sides and exactly the same length on both sides so that I know this thing's right. All right, after clamping it, it's 1 3/4. One 7/8. So let me move those a little bit. Almost there. All right, that's it right there. 1 7/8. Recheck the other side. All right, 1 7/8. That's it. Two and 5/8. $62 and 5/8. All right, we're the same on both sides. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the MIG welder. I'm gonna go ahead and tack these bars in place. They measure the same on both sides. Everything's squared up nicely. Hopefully, with the quarter panels tucked up tight against the B-pillars and everything measuring the same on both sides, I'm hoping I can put the doors on this thing and they're gonna fit right the first time. That's the plan anyway. All right, so there it is. The quarters are in place. They squared up pretty good. I took these spacers out from under the back, let it sit right flat down on the floor. A Model A is perfectly flat along the bottom, so it should touch the floor from the back all the way to the front if it's right. And it does. All right, so the last time I had the car on the floor, I noticed the doors would scrub the concrete when I tried to open and close them. So I went ahead and put some 2x under the car to keep that from happening. All right, they're on. Let's see how good they're lined up. Body line looks pretty close to me. Let's check out the passenger side. Passenger side looks the same way. Lined up perfect. All right, so now that the doors are on, I got some new strikers and some new bolts to put in right here that'll help the door stay closed a little bit better. Right now, they're just flopping around. I'm gonna go ahead and install these. All right, let's try that. See how it closes now. Definitely catching on the striker now. Just need to adjust it in a little bit. Let's try that now. Oh yeah, looks good now. Perfect. Perfect. All right, guys, well, that's as far as I can go on the body for now. The cowl is done. Everything I can do for now. The doors are back on and adjusted out. The strikers are adjusted. They open and close like they should. The quarter panels are back in place. Everything's squared up. The body line lines up perfectly between the doors and the quarters. So this thing's ready to set back up onto the frame rails. But before I do that, I got to get out my drawings, got to get my measure tape, and I got to do some measuring. It's been since back last year since I worked on those frame rails any. So I think I got them pretty close, but I've got to verify the wheelbase, and I got to figure out exactly where I've got to line my body up on the frame. And I just got to take some cross measurements and check level on some stuff and make sure that everything is just right on those rails before I stick that body up there. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna get out my drawings, grab my tape, and I'm gonna start doing some measuring, and we're gonna get ready to set this body back on. All right, so what I'm using here is the drawings from Westcott's. It's the original dimensions for the factory 32 frame. I'm using those original dimensions and altering them slightly to make the frame work a little bit better under my Model A body. All right, so the first thing I had to do before I could start building the frame was I had to make this frame jig. What I did was I just picked up some scrap metal. I didn't make it any particular length for any particular reason, other than this was the length of the metal that I found for free. 90 inches long. It could have been a little wider, it would have helped, or actually a little longer would have helped. The width is fine, but it's okay. I just used what I could get for free. It's actually 43.5 inches wide, but it's perfectly level. It's sitting there with an angle finder on it right now, zeroed out. I spent a lot of time building this thing to get it perfectly level. There are no adjustments on it, but it doesn't matter where I roll it in my shop, it zeroes out because this is one of the best floors I've ever seen. The guy that built my shop was very critical of himself, his own work, and he spent a lot of time on the floor. And when we talked about who to get to do my concrete work, the guy was very picky, and he said there was only one person he was willing to use, and he called those people. I'd never met them before. He got them in, and I'm telling you, this floor it's just about perfect. So the angle finder's on 0. I can roll the thing anywhere in the shop and it zeroes out. So I didn't put any adjustments on the table itself, on the jig. If I ever do get it to where I need to make an adjustment, I can always slide a piece of sheet metal or something under one of the wheels and that'll level it out. So I didn't worry about any adjustments on it. It's fine. Zeroed out right now, so it's good. So what I got to do now is I've got to just verify some cross measurements. And everything should be good because I've already done all this before. I just want to verify it. And I'll tell you a couple of things I have already changed on it. It's supposed to be 23¼ inches across the front for a 32. And I've already narrowed this up to 22. So we're looking at 1¼ inch. I've already narrowed it across the front. And I have also narrowed the rails up about, I think, what is this, 1 inch? Yeah, I've narrowed 2 inches across the back of overall width on the frame rails. That helps this part fit inside the wheel wells a little better. So I've already done that. So now I just got to take some measurement. And you see I already cut the ends off. I did this sometime back when I put the body on here before. So for now, I just got to verify the wheelbase. I want to make sure that I've got my marks in the correct location back here, so I can stick that body up here and line it up right in this area, get it perfect. Because once I go to putting these subrails in the back, if I get these in the wrong spot, I won't be able to slide that body back and forth. I may be able to, well, no, won't even be able to go forward with it. I was thinking I might be able to go forward, but no, it won't move. Once I get these subrails welded into the body, it's going to be right there. That's it, because they're shaped to fit the frame. It won't be able to move, so I got to make sure now that it's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing some measuring. So from the front of the frame horn to the center line of the front axle is supposed to be 14 7/16. So let's verify my marks that I got. I've already got a mark here, and I think that's going to be my actual center line. We're going to verify the measurement, make sure that's it. It's 15.5. I don't know what I did there. Let me check back and see what I got going on. All right, so I'm supposed to have a 106-inch wheelbase. So I'm going to see from these marks if I've got 106. That's 106. That is definitely 106. But that is not 14 7/8. All right, so I'm supposed to have 32 inches from this hole, from the center of this hole to my front axle center line. So let me check that and see what I got. I do not have 32 inches. hot. Well, that's it, guys. Body's ready to go on. All right, so I'm gonna use this engine hoist to pick the car up with. Now what I gotta do is I gotta fiddle around with it and try to get it picked up enough to get the engine hoist rolled up under it. And I gotta figure out how to do that by myself. So I'll probably just pick it up and stick some jack stands under it, one end at a time or something. I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and fiddle around with it, see what I can come up with. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy. Don't think that's gonna work. Nope. That's not gonna work. So, plan B. Pick up one side, slide it up on there. All right, guys, well, there it is. I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate you checking out the progress on the car this week. There's one thing I want to show you right down here. All right, so now that the body's back on the frame, you can get a good idea of what I've been talking about for a while when I've been talking about modifying the cowl. This gap has got to go away. And the only way to get rid of that gap is to drop the body down. The only way the body's going to drop down is I'm going to have to cut this cowl off right here. I'm going to have to cut it up on the front up here until it lines up. Now there's several ways people have done this through the years. Some people narrow the frame rails, cut the lip off the cowl and just let the cowl just drop down over the edge of the frame. I don't want to do that. I just want to modify the cowl so that it sits flat down against it. So I got a tight crack like this all the way down. And then this gap right here will go away also. That's how I'm gonna do it. And also want to show you guys the angle finder. Told you earlier it was zeroed out. Forgot to get some footage on that. But you can see the angle finder works. I'm telling you the truth. Check this out. Zeroed out. And if I put it up here on the front, I get the same thing. Zeroed out. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out another week at Phillips Hot Rod Garage. Thanks for checking out the progress. I'm really happy. Things are coming right along. But guys, I may take off next week. I don't know. Either way, I'll be working on the car and I'll be filming. But I got some stuff going on and I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity to do all the work, get all the filming done, and get the editing done. I don't know. My daughter is a drum major in the band this year. I'm having to go to the games on Friday nights now. They got a band competition Saturday that I got to help with. So we have church on Wednesday night. So I'll have Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. Pretty much all I'm going to have this coming up week. So I may not be able to get the video done. But either way, I'm going to get some work done. And I'll show it to you as soon as I can. But guys, I got to get some work done on the shop too. As you can see behind me, all this insulation up on the walls and the ceiling. I got some work to do. I got some work tables I got to build. What happened was I built a new building, and then as soon as we got ready to start working on the inside, the prices of materials started going up so much that I just decided to hold up and wait. I'm not going to pay all those overinflated prices for those materials just to put in the shop. If it was a house, it'd be different. But I'd rather spend all that extra money instead of spending it on all those materials to spend it on my cars, because the prices of the car parts has not shot up the roof, out through the roof like the price of the building materials has. So that's why I've been waiting. That's why I still got all this insulation showing and everything. We're just waiting on the price of the materials to go back down. We're getting there. But like our old buddy Rat Rod Bob says, we're gonna get it. We just ain't got it yet. So anyway, guys, appreciate you hanging out. I'll see you guys in the next one.